Part 6. The Night of Enlightenment Under the Bodhi Tree. 6.1 The resolve to meditate until the truth is found. The stillness of night settled over the valley of Uruvala, where cool breezes from the Naranjara River gently stirred the leaves. After 6 years of severe austerity and decades of fruitless searching, Siddhartha Gautama stepped toward the Bodhi tree, his bare feet pressing into the cool, firm earth. He knew this was the place where everything would be decided. Either he would find the path to liberation, or he would remain forever trapped in the endless cycle of birth and death. Within him arose an unshakable vow. Though my flesh wither and my bones decay, I will not rise from this seat. And he entered deep meditation. There was no longer any reliance on borrowed philosophies, no more self-mortification that dulled the mind. Only the breath, only the mindful observation of every subtle movement of body and mind. Every thought that arose was seen clearly, neither resisted nor clung to, simply allowed to appear and dissolve like drifting clouds. But the path to truth was not lined with flowers. In the depths of the night, great waves of inner turbulence began to rise. Memories. Such forces were called Mara, the embodiment of all that binds beings to the wheel of samsara. Mara was not merely a mythical figure, but a metaphor for the deep psychological forces that seek to pull one away from awakening. Mara sent alluring visions, the call of sensual pleasures Siddhartha had once renounced. When seduction failed, he unleashed fear, the roars of wild beasts, storms of hail and lightning, darkness thick as ink. Finally, he sowed doubt, whispering, "Who do you think you are to defy the order of life and death? Do you truly believe you can find a truth that countless sages before you have never reached?" Each wave, Siddhartha met with motionless silence. He did not fight in the ordinary way, for even fighting is a form of attachment. Instead, he observed everything as though watching a play unfold upon the stage of his own mind. When Mara tried to overwhelm him with fear, Mara and his legions, mere projections of the mind, dissolved into the void. Yet the truest trial was still ahead. Having passed beyond temptation and fear, everything had always been whole, never lacking, never apart from its pure nature. That night beneath the Bodhi tree was not merely an episode in the life of one man. It became a symbol of the power of will, of steadfastness against temptation, the adoration of subjects, the supreme authority of the throne. These visions shone brilliantly, real enough to entice anyone without steadfast mindfulness to abandon the path of awakening. He lowered his right hand to touch the earth, a gesture that became immortal in Buddhist history, Bhumisparsha Mudra, the earth-touching gesture. Proof that his quest was not born in this single short existence, but was the fruit of endless eons of generosity, patience, and wisdom. The earth trembled gently in response. In that moment, all of Mara's assaults vanished like morning mist under the sun. Temptations lost their allure, fear lost its form, doubt found no foothold. For they were all nothing more than thin wisps of smoke, existing only as long as the mind held them as real. The story of Mara is not merely a mystical episode in the Buddha's life, but a mirror reflecting the inner journey of every human being. Anyone who delves deeply into practice, whether through meditation or honest self-reflection, will encounter their own Mara, the shadows of the mind, desires once thought conquered, nameless fears, and above all, the inner voice that denies our capacity for liberation. Victory over Mara does not come from destroying him, but from realizing his true nature, only mind. Once seen clearly, all temptations, fears, and doubts lose their power, and the path to awakening opens wide. In this way, Mara's appearance, in a profound sense, became the final trial through which Siddhartha demonstrated the absolute unshakability of his mind, and the last step before the light of full enlightenment blossomed beneath the Bodhi tree. 6. 3. The moment of realizing the Four Noble Truths, a complete transformation of consciousness. That night, when all the winds of temptation, fear, and doubt had subsided, Siddhartha's mind became as still as a lake without ripples. He was no longer stirred by memories of the past or expectations for the future. Each breath came and went naturally, as light as morning mist, yet each breath opened into an infinite inner space. In that deep meditative state, the door of wisdom, veiled by ignorance for countless lifetimes, began to open. He contemplated the entire cycle of birth and death, seeing clearly the operation of karma and dependent origination, perceiving every link between action, thought, and consequence. Layers of mental obscurations fell away, as if the night sky had broken open to reveal countless stars. In the light of insight, four fundamental truths appeared, clear and undeniable as the very breath of life, the Four Noble Truths. The first truth was dukkha, suffering, not only the obvious pains of illness, separation, or death, but the inherent imperfection, fragility, and impermanence of all phenomena. He saw that even moments of happiness carry within them the seed of loss, because everything passes away. Nothing, whether power, wealth, or love, can bring absolute security when it exists within the cycle of arising and passing. The second truth was samudaya, the cause of suffering. Siddhartha saw, down to the root, that the source of the endless cycle of rebirth is craving, clinging to what is pleasant, rejecting what is unpleasant. The third truth was nirodha, the cessation of suffering. He saw that if the causes, craving and ignorance, are completely uprooted, the mind becomes utterly free, no longer driven by desire or fear. Such a mind abides in the state of nirvana, where there is no birth, no death, no disturbance from any phenomenon. The fourth truth was magga, the path to the cessation of suffering. In his insight, to right intention, nurturing compassion, then right speech, right action, right livelihood, building a foundation of morality, and right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, cultivating the inner strength to sustain awareness. In that moment, the entire structure of the self dissolved. He no longer viewed the world from the narrow perspective of an individual, but saw himself and all beings as parts of a single, boundless stream of life. There was no boundary between me and others, between life and death, between gain and loss. The mind became completely open, with not a single speck of selfishness left to cling to. This transformation was not merely a change in intellectual understanding. It was a radical shift in the very architecture of consciousness. What had once been the roots of fear, anger, and greed now found no ground to take hold. Wisdom and compassion became his natural breath. He sought nothing for himself, holding only one vow: to bring the light of the Four Noble Truths to all beings, so that they too could step out of the darkness of ignorance. From a modern perspective, but through the power of deep contemplation and unwavering determination. Beneath the Bodhi tree, a human being had transcended the limits of humanity, and in that very moment, the door of liberation opened for all beings. Part 7. 45 Years of Teaching the Dharma. 7. 1. The first sermon at the Deer Park, setting the wheel of Dharma in motion. After the night of enlightenment beneath the Bodhi tree, the Buddha's mind shone like a newly risen sun, illuminating every corner of life and the universe. Yet in that very moment, he also realized a truth. The reality he had awakened to was too profound and subtle, beyond the grasp of the ordinary concepts to which people clung. Could the world truly understand? Could human beings, so accustomed to the whirlpool of greed, anger? He thought of those beings buried under the weight of suffering, like fish stranded under the harsh sun, waiting for a cool stream to save them. If he remained silent, the world would remain in darkness. Then, the image of 5 former companions appeared in his mind, those who had once practiced asceticism with him in the forest of Uruvela. Before leaving, when he abandoned the path of extreme austerity, he knew they already carried seeds of the quest for liberation, and if the seed of the Four Noble Truths was planted in their hearts, yet carried the power of deep stillness. His destination was the deer park at Sarnath, where the 5 companions lived. When they saw him from afar, a trace of pride mixed with scorn arose. That is Siddhartha, the one who abandoned austerities for comfort. We should not greet him. Yet as he drew near, the serene radiance of his presence and the compassion in his eyes dissolved all walls of prejudice. They rose instinctively, spread out a seat, and invited him to sit. There, beneath the shade of trees and the gentle calls of deer in the distance, the Buddha delivered his first sermon. He spoke of the middle way, avoiding the two extremes. Kandana became the first arahant and also the first monk in the Sangha. This marked the birth of the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. From that luminous morning in the Deer Park, the wheel of Dharma began to turn. Once set in motion, nothing could stop it. The Buddha's teaching, beginning with those 5 disciples, would spread through villages, across kingdoms, and beyond the borders of India, continuing, even thousands of years later, to stir the hearts of those yearning to find light in the midst of darkness. That day, among the whispering leaves and the deer grazing peacefully in the meadow, a turning point in history occurred, not through conquest, not by force or power, but through the strength of truth. And for the next 45 years, the Buddha's tireless journey would be to keep that wheel turning, guiding countless beings to find their way back to their own true nature. 7.2 Fateful Encounters. Angulimala, Ambapali, King Bimbisara. Throughout the 45 years of his teaching, one of the most moving stories is the encounter with Angulimala. Born as a Himsaka, he was once a bright, diligent, and promising student. But due to the poisonous seeds of suspicion and malice sown by his teacher, Ahimsaka was driven down a murderous path. Those words cut deeper than any blade. Angulimala trembled, dropped his sword, and knelt down. From that day, he became a monk, devoting the rest of his life to making amends, helping villagers, and ultimately attaining liberation. The man who had once spread terror became a living testament to the human capacity for transformation when touched by light. Then there was Ambapali, the famed beauty of Vaisali, whose allure captivated nobles and princes alike. Ambapali was the royal courtesan, living amidst luxury but with a restless heart. Upon hearing that the Buddha and the Sangha were coming to Vaisali, she immediately prepared a lavish feast to invite them. In the Buddha's presence, Ambapali felt something she had never experienced, a beauty beyond form and desire, a magnetic force born of boundless wisdom and compassion. During the meal, she listened intently to his teachings, as if gazing into a crystal-clear mirror where silks and cosmetics lost all significance. Ambapali decided to donate her splendid garden to the Sangha, leave behind her old life, and enter the path of practice. From a symbol of worldly pleasure, she became a nun who attained enlightenment, leaving behind verses of profound insight into impermanence and the fading of beauty. And there was King Bimbisara of Magadha. As the young Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha had once met Bimbisara while resting on Mount Pandava, captivated by the serene bearing of the ascetic. The king had invited him to the palace, promising that if Siddhartha did not find his spiritual path, he could return and share the throne. Years later, after attaining Buddhahood, the Buddha returned and taught him the Dharma. Deeply moved, Bimbisara took refuge in the Three Jewels and became one of the greatest supporters of the Sangha. He offered the Bamboo Grove Monastery and many resources, using his royal influence to protect the monks and help the Dharma flourish. These meetings were more than beautiful episodes in Buddhist history. They reflected an eternal truth. No one is forever trapped in sin, power, or desire. Every person carries within them the seed of awakening, simply awaiting the right conditions to sprout. The Buddha, with his light of wisdom and unconditional compassion, was the great condition that stirred those seeds to life. Along the 45-year path, from deep forests to royal courts, from dusty alleyways to opulent gardens, the Buddha made no distinction between who was worthy or unworthy. He came to all as rain falls freely on every field, some seeds sprouting immediately, others biding their time. 3. Analyzing the psychological and social impact of the Buddha's teachings in a multicultural context. Throughout his 45 years of teaching, the Buddha's words touched not only individuals seeking liberation, but also subtly reshaped the psychological and social fabric of the communities he visited. What is remarkable is that his teachings were not confined by language, local religions, or specific cultural systems. Instead, they adapted and spread, becoming a shared source of guidance for all. This adaptability contributed to the enduring vitality of the Dharma and stands as clear evidence that wisdom and compassion can transcend all boundaries. At the level of individual psychology, the Buddha's teachings deeply influenced people's perception and behavior. Concepts such as the Four Noble Truths, The Noble Eightfold Path, Impermanence. Listeners not only gained spiritual insight but also a sense of belonging to a larger community, where their suffering was acknowledged without judgment. This created a collective form of mental support, helping communities cope with crises such as famine, disease, or war. Another key factor was the flexibility in teaching. The Buddha did not apply a rigid formula but adapted his message according to the listener's capacity, culture, and circumstances. Speaking to kings, he used metaphors related to governance and fairness. Speaking to farmers, he likened the path of practice to sowing and harvesting. This adaptability allowed his teachings to be translatable anywhere, not confined to a single culture. A deeper impact was the formation of cross-cultural ethical consciousness. In communities influenced by Buddhism, belief in karma and personal responsibility encouraged moral behavior without legal coercion. Instead of acting rightly out of fear of supernatural punishment, people acted ethically because they understood that every action leaves an imprint on their own mind. This represented a major step in moral psychology, contributing to more stable societies. Overall, the Buddha's teachings in a multicultural context became a phenomenon that both transformed the inner self and reformed society. From individuals to communities, from psychology to social structures, the Dharma created lasting changes without force or pressure. This is the power of a path based on wisdom and compassion, elements that transcend language, geography, and belief. Perhaps this is why, even more than 2,000 years later, in a world still facing division and crises, these teachings remain relevant. They continue to remind us that harmony between cultures does not come from uniformity, but from the ability to coexist in diversity, supported by a shared spirit, reducing each other's suffering, just as the Buddha did wherever he went. Part 8. Timeless Principles of Living. 8. 1. Compassion and wisdom, an inseparable duo across all ages. Compassion and wisdom are the two core principles in the Buddhist teachings, existing not merely as abstract concepts, but as practical guiding lights for human life across all eras. Compassion, or unconditional loving-kindness, enables a person to open their heart, recognizing both their own suffering and that of others. Wisdom, the ability to see the true nature of phenomena, allows one to discern right from wrong, understand impermanence, and cultivate deep inner peace. At the societal level, this duo lays the foundation for a healthy community. Compassion manifests as care for the vulnerable, protecting fairness, and reducing collective suffering. Wisdom manifests as making prudent decisions based on principles of cause and effect, rather than prejudice or fleeting emotion. In communities guided by these principles, relationships are harmonious, conflicts are resolved sustainably, and development progresses alongside morality. From the perspective of modern psychology, compassion and wisdom are also key factors for mental well-being. Compassion reduces stress, anxiety, and loneliness while enhancing social connection. Wisdom helps individuals perceive reality accurately, reducing the risk of delusion, negative thinking, or self-destructive behavior. Masters emphasize that wisdom leads the way while compassion keeps the heart aligned. A practitioner who studies scriptures without cultivating compassion risks becoming rigid and detached from real life. Conversely, someone focused solely on compassion without understanding the nature of phenomena may be swept away by emotion, lacking the means to help effectively. While excessive asceticism leads to physical weakness, mental exhaustion, and a distorted perception of reality, the middle way helps one see through the nature of these extremes, recognizing that true happiness does not lie outside, but in harmonizing body, mind, and spirit. It teaches practitioners to nurture health, wisdom, and compassion simultaneously, avoiding harmful extremes. In a societal context, the middle way provides guidance as well. When communities or societies swing between extremes, wealth versus poverty, oppression versus chaotic freedom, the middle way offers a principle of balance, emphasizing fairness, moderation, and shared responsibility. It teaches that conflict resolution is not about imposing one extreme against another, but finding a reasonable middle ground where all can coexist without harm. Historically, this principle has been applied in Buddhist societies in resource management, education, and dispute resolution, creating stable and sustainable communities. From a modern psychological perspective, the middle way can be understood as a balanced approach to emotions and behavior. Humans are easily drawn into emotional extremes. Excessive ambition leads to stress and anxiety, while overly rigid self-discipline causes pressure and mental fatigue. The middle way encourages recognizing these extremes, accepting emotions, and responding mindfully, thus enhancing self-regulation and psychological resilience. With regular practice, it helps maintain mental stability, sound decision-making, and harmonious relationships with others. In the Buddha's own spiritual journey, the middle way also represents the integration of wisdom and compassion, the two inseparable principles emphasized in his teachings. Wisdom allows one to perceive the true nature of suffering and its causes, while compassion ensures that the path to liberation does not harm oneself or others. The middle way is the convergence point where both principles meet, enabling the practitioner to attain enlightenment while remaining harmoniously aligned with life. In the modern world, an inner harmony are achieved not by forcing oneself to follow an extreme, but by regulating all aspects of life. It is a guide for living responsibly, wisely, and harmoniously across all eras. Ultimately, the middle way is not just a personal path, but a principle that applies to society, psychology, and spirituality. It transcends cultural and temporal boundaries, offering solutions to the extremes that humans continually face. The middle way stands as a testament to the Buddha's profound wisdom, a reminder that balance is the foundation for happiness, peace, and enlightenment. 8.3 Connection to the science of happiness and modern psychological therapy. The principles that the Buddha taught over 2,500 years ago, particularly those relating to balance, compassion, and wisdom, have remarkable resonance with contemporary research in the science of happiness and modern psychological therapy. While the language and frameworks differ, the underlying truths converge. Human well-being is closely tied to emotional regulation, awareness of thought patterns, and the cultivation of empathy and insight. Practices such as mindfulness, while enhancing life satisfaction, resilience, and social connection. From the perspective of positive psychology, the Buddha's emphasis on cultivating wholesome mental states mirrors modern findings on the role of gratitude, compassion, and pro-social behavior in sustaining long-term happiness. Research shows that people who engage in acts of kindness, reflect on their values, and practice gratitude consistently report higher levels of life satisfaction. These practices echo the Buddhist cultivation of compassion and ethical living, demonstrating that the mind's orientation toward others and toward constructive patterns of thought is a powerful determinant of well-being. Similarly, the practice of mindfulness, central to the middle way, enhances cognitive flexibility, reduces rumination, and improves emotional regulation, reflecting the Buddha's guidance on avoiding extremes and maintaining mental balance. In psychotherapy, especially cognitive behavioral approaches, parallels with Buddhist principles are evident. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, emphasizes the recognition of unhelpful thought patterns and their modification to reduce suffering, a concept remarkably aligned with the Buddha's instruction to observe the mind, discern reality, and act wisely rather than react impulsively. Acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, also resonates with the middle way, encouraging individuals to accept their thoughts and emotions without being enslaved by them, while committing to values-aligned action. The emphasis on mindfulness in modern therapy, including mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT, draws directly from Buddhist meditation practices. Experience not only reduced suffering, but also enhanced relationships and a deeper sense of purpose. The Buddha's insights on the nature of suffering, impermanence, and non-attachment also resonate with findings in neuroscience and the psychology of happiness. Research indicates that clinging to transient pleasures, identities, as emotionally intelligent and ethically mindful individuals contribute to communities marked by empathy, fairness, and cooperation. Ultimately, the connection between Buddhist principles and modern science illustrates that the pursuit of happiness and psychological well-being is not limited by culture or era. The Buddha's guidance offers timeless strategies for navigating the complexities of human experience, and contemporary science validates the effectiveness of these practices in tangible, measurable ways. By linking traditional wisdom with modern insights, individuals can cultivate lives that are not only more peaceful and fulfilling, but also resilient, adaptable, and deeply meaningful, demonstrating that the path to well-being transcends time and continues to illuminate the human condition today. Part 9. The Final Days and the Legacy Left Behind. 9. 1. The Final Journey to Kushinagar. The final years of the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, marked a unique period, both the closing of his journey to enlightenment and the beginning of the widespread legacy of his teachings. The final journey to Kushinagar was not merely a physical passage through familiar and unfamiliar lands, but a symbolic journey of a life devoted to imparting wisdom and compassion. Along the way, the Buddha passed through villages, forests, and rivers, meeting disciples, ordinary people, and leaders, imparting his last lessons on impermanence, dependent origination, and karma, emphasizing that all existence is subject to change and every action leaves a trace. With every step, he taught awareness and mindfulness, encouraging people to observe themselves and their surroundings with compassion while maintaining alertness in every action. This journey also served to strengthen the community of disciples, reminding them of the path of practice, of living rightly according to ethical precepts, and of self-reliance in pursuit of enlightenment. This final journey reflects a calm and serene attitude toward death and life's impermanence. The Buddha traveled to Kushinagar with equanimity, free from fear or attachment to material wealth or status, exemplifying his teaching that liberation is not about escaping the world, but perceiving and transcending inner attachments. His final encounters with disciples and the public were not only acts of knowledge transmission, but demonstrations of love, forgiveness, and the power to inspire even in the last moments of life, ensuring that wisdom and compassion become an everlasting legacy for humanity. 9.2 The Final Teaching. Be a lamp unto yourself. Among the many profound lessons the Buddha imparted throughout his life, his final teaching stands as both a culmination and a guiding principle for all generations, and realized within each individual. This teaching highlights the importance of personal agency and inner awareness. The Buddha knew that dependence on external authorities, rituals, or material security could never lead to true understanding. Instead, the path to freedom and lasting peace requires that each person cultivate insight, discernment, and ethical living, actively engaging with life's challenges rather than passively following tradition or dogma. The image of a lamp evokes clarity and illumination, just as a lamp dispels darkness. Self-awareness illuminates the mind, revealing the causes of suffering and the path to freedom. The context of this final teaching also reflects the Buddha's profound understanding of human psychology. He recognized that every individual faces internal obstacles, fear, attachment, ignorance, and the habitual patterns of thought that bind the mind. By urging people to be a lamp unto yourself, he invites them to confront these inner obstacles directly, to cultivate mindfulness and self-reflection, and to develop resilience in the face of impermanence and uncertainty. It is an invitation to awaken from habitual unconsciousness, to take responsibility for one's mental and emotional life, and to discover the deep well of clarity, compassion, and wisdom inherent within. In the larger frame of Buddhist thought, this teaching underscores the principle of autonomy in spiritual practice. While teachers, texts, and communities serve as guides and support systems, enlightenment is not transferable. It must be realized personally through diligent practice, ethical conduct, and mindful awareness. The Buddha's words remind disciples that genuine progress arises from experiential understanding, not mere intellectual assent. Each practitioner must light their own inner lamp, cultivating insight step by step, moment by moment, in every aspect of daily life. From a modern psychological perspective, this teaching resonates with concepts in self-efficacy, resilience, and personal growth. Just as contemporary therapy emphasizes the power of individuals to develop coping strategies, regulate emotions, and transform thought patterns, the Buddha's exhortation emphasizes self-directed transformation. It is an acknowledgement that ultimate well-being, peace, and clarity arise from conscious effort, reflection, and the cultivation of adaptive mental habits. It also emphasizes responsibility, While external guidance can provide structure and encouragement, the inner work, the mindful attention to thoughts, emotions, and actions, is the source of lasting transformation. The final teaching is also a call to empowerment and liberation. It encourages individuals not to wait passively for salvation from external forces, but to recognize their own capacity to understand, choose, and act wisely. It is a teaching that transcends culture, era, and circumstance. Whether in ancient India or the modern world, each person holds the key to awakening within themselves. By lighting their own lamp, individuals become both the guide and the guardian of their own mind, navigating life with clarity, compassion, and courage. Furthermore, this teaching embodies the essence of the Buddha's life and legacy. From the sheltered prince to the enlightened teacher, his journey was a testament to the transformative power of inner exploration and self-realization. By leaving this final instruction, he reinforces that the path he walked is not a monopoly, but an invitation, a universal message that enlightenment is attainable for anyone willing to engage in mindful practice, ethical living, and compassionate action. His words encourage both independence and interconnection, acknowledging the role of teachers and communities while ultimately placing the responsibility for awakening squarely within each individual. Ultimately, be a lamp unto yourself is more than advice. It is a philosophical and practical framework for life. It serves as a reminder that true wisdom, lasting peace, and social structures across cultures and centuries. Even more than 2,500 years after his passing, the Buddha's teachings continue to shape the ways in which individuals understand the mind, navigate moral challenges, and build societies rooted in compassion and justice. His insights into the nature of suffering, the mechanisms of desire and attachment, and the pathways to inner peace have proven remarkably compatible with modern disciplines, offering timeless guidance on human flourishing. From a psychological perspective, the Buddha's observations about the mind anticipated many concepts in contemporary mental health and therapy. His emphasis on mindfulness, awareness of thought patterns, and the cultivation of equanimity directly aligns with modern practices in psychotherapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, and mindfulness-based interventions. By teaching the importance of observing one's thoughts without becoming entangled, he offered an early framework for understanding cognitive processes, emotional regulation, and the alleviation of mental suffering. The principles of impermanence and non-attachment provide profound tools for managing anxiety, grief, and disappointment, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of human psychology long before the formal scientific study of the mind emerged. On the level of ethics and moral philosophy, the Buddha's teachings have influenced the development of moral reasoning and values-based living across cultures. The integration of compassion, karu, loving-kindness, metta, and wisdom, panna, into ethical thought offers a holistic approach to moral conduct, encouraging individuals not only to refrain from harmful actions, but also to actively cultivate virtue, empathy, and understanding. These principles have informed social ethics, leadership practices, and educational philosophies, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all beings and the importance of responsible, compassionate action. The Buddha's ethical framework demonstrates that morality is not merely a set of rules, but a dynamic practice grounded in awareness, intention, and the consequences of actions. In terms of societal impact, the Buddha's legacy has fostered communities and institutions oriented toward peace, social cohesion, and human development. Monastic communities, lay organizations, and meditation centers across the world embody the practical application of his teachings, creating spaces where compassion, mindfulness, and ethical reflection are cultivated collectively. Societies influenced by Buddhist thought often integrate principles of nonviolence, conflict resolution, and altruistic service into governance, education, and community life. Even in secular contexts, the philosophical and ethical insights derived from Buddhism inform public policy, humanitarian efforts, and cross-cultural dialogue, demonstrating their adaptability and enduring relevance. The Buddha's influence on global consciousness and intercultural exchange cannot be overstated. His teachings transcended the boundaries of ancient India, spreading across Asia and eventually the Western world, adapting to diverse cultural contexts while maintaining their core principles. In contemporary psychology, neuroscience, education, and leadership studies, his insights on mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and ethical action continue to inspire research and practice. The integration of Buddhist concepts into modern therapeutic models, leadership programs, and educational curricula reflects the universality and applicability of his wisdom, demonstrating that these teachings speak to fundamental aspects of human experience rather than specific religious doctrine. Moreover, the enduring legacy of the Buddha underscores the importance of inner transformation as a catalyst for societal change. By cultivating compassion, mindfulness, and ethical discernment within the individual, these qualities radiate outward, shaping relationships, institutions, and communities. The ripple effect of awakened individuals has influenced art, literature, law, and governance, illustrating how personal insight and moral clarity can contribute to collective well-being across cultures and generations. His teachings remind us that the foundation of a just and harmonious society lies in the cultivation of virtue, empathy, and wisdom at the personal level. In a modern context, this influence extends to science, medicine, and psychology, where practices derived from Buddhist meditation and mindfulness are empirically validated for improving mental health, emotional resilience, and cognitive functioning. Studies show that mindfulness reduces stress, enhances emotional regulation, and fosters prosocial behavior, aligning with the Buddha's original intentions to cultivate a mind free from suffering and attuned to the welfare of others. The ethical and psychological insights he offered continue to shape contemporary approaches to leadership, education, mental health, and social justice, demonstrating the enduring relevance of his life and teachings. Ultimately, the Buddha's impact on global psychology, ethics, and society reflects the universality of his vision, that human flourishing arises from understanding the mind, cultivating compassion, and engaging in wise and ethical action. His teachings provide tools not only for personal liberation, but also for fostering harmony, justice, and resilience in communities around the world. The wisdom he imparted is not confined to a particular era or culture. It continues to illuminate the human experience, guiding individuals and societies alike toward a deeper understanding of themselves, their responsibilities, and the interdependent nature of life. Through these timeless lessons, the Buddha's presence remains vibrant and transformative, inspiring generations to seek clarity, compassion, and enduring peace in an ever-changing world. Part 10. Conclusion. The Path to Enlightenment and Our Lives Today. 10.1 Why the Buddha's Journey Remains a Spiritual Map for the 21st Century. The journey of Siddhartha Gautama, from Prince Siddhartha to the awakened Buddha, is not merely the story of an individual over 2,500 years ago, but continues to serve as a living spiritual map for the 21st century. In a world full of constant change, where technology, speed, and societal pressures create mental fatigue and inner turbulence, the principles he left behind remain profoundly applicable. The path to enlightenment that the Buddha traversed reflects the process of self-understanding, seeing through suffering, and seeking inner freedom, needs that are as relevant today as they were in ancient India. This journey demonstrates the harmony between wisdom and compassion, a combination still often lacking in modern lifestyles. In today's world, many achieve material success, yet feel spiritually empty. External accomplishments coexist with inner struggles. The Buddha's path illustrates that understanding and awakening begin with facing oneself, observing thoughts, emotions, and actions without judgment. Mindfulness helps reduce stress, enhances focus, and promotes emotional stability. Understanding impermanence allows individuals to adapt to change and accept loss or failure. Insight into non-self helps decrease excessive personal ambition, improving relationships and social harmony. These principles act as modern tools to navigate a complex world, addressing both personal and societal dimensions. The journey to enlightenment also serves as a reminder of the importance of experiential learning and practical action. The Buddha did not merely teach theory. He lived according to the principles he espoused. He demonstrated that profound understanding arises from experience, observation, On a social and cultural level, the Buddha's journey continues to foster human connection. In an era of globalization, where cultural conflicts, political tensions, and empathy for those who are different, despite material and technological changes, principles of mindfulness, ethical responsibility, and compassion remain foundational for peace and sustainable development. The Buddha's journey also represents a map toward inner freedom. He moved from attachment, suffering, and the limitations of luxury to liberation, demonstrating that true happiness depends not on external conditions, but on understanding and mastering the mind. In today's context, when people are often driven by material needs, status, and social comparison, this message is especially relevant. Inner liberation is the sustainable path to maintaining peace, awareness, and compassion amid chaos and pressure. Ultimately, the Buddha's journey is more than a historical or religious narrative. It is a spiritual, psychological, and ethical guide. Remain highly applicable to navigating these challenges. By integrating mindfulness, compassion, and ethical awareness into daily routines, individuals can transform moments of tension into opportunities for clarity, balance, and inner peace. The first and most essential practice is mindfulness in action. Cultivating attentive awareness allows one to fully experience the present moment rather than becoming trapped in regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. In a modern context, this translates into greater focus, less stress, and improved emotional regulation. Observing one's thoughts and reactions without immediate judgment fosters resilience and helps prevent the accumulation of mental fatigue. Providing a practical ethical guide in workplaces, families, and communities alike, non-attachment and perspective are equally relevant in contemporary life. The Buddha taught that clinging to material possessions, rigid identities, or external validation is a root cause of suffering. In today's hyper-connected society, where social media often magnifies comparison, desire, and distraction, understanding impermanence and cultivating non-attachment helps individuals navigate their ambitions and relationships with greater ease. This does not mean abandoning responsibilities or goals. Rather, it is the practice of engaging fully with life while maintaining inner freedom from unhealthy fixation. By developing flexibility, tolerance for uncertainty, and acceptance of change, individuals can face professional and personal challenges with equanimity. Integrating the ethical dimensions of the Buddha's teachings into daily life also plays a crucial role. In a world full of complex moral dilemmas, the precepts of right action, right speech, and right livelihood serve as a guide to living with integrity and accountability. Ethical conduct transforms ordinary actions into a form of applied wisdom that stabilizes both mind and relationships. Another key aspect is the practice of balance and self-care inspired by the middle way. In modern life, extremes of workaholism or escapism, indulgence or deprivation, often lead to burnout and dissatisfaction. The middle way teaches the importance of moderation, awareness of needs, and measured effort, offering a practical guide to maintaining physical health, emotional well-being, and mental clarity. Incorporating rest, reflection, and intentionality into daily schedules prevents the depletion of energy and promotes sustainable engagement with responsibilities and passions. The wisdom of the Buddha also encourages reflection and continuous learning. Even in a world of instant information and constant stimulation, taking time to observe one's own mind, motivations, purpose, and connection. It is not about escaping the world or abandoning responsibilities, but learning to inhabit life fully and consciously. By cultivating awareness, compassion, ethical clarity, and balance, individuals can transform the pressures and distractions of modern life into catalysts for growth, resilience, and meaningful engagement. The principles that guided Siddhartha from the palace to enlightenment remain as relevant today as ever, offering a practical, timeless toolkit for navigating complexity while nurturing inner peace, wisdom, and authentic happiness. 10.3 A call to step onto the path of mindfulness. Start today. The journey of Siddhartha Gautama, culminating in his enlightenment, is not just a historical narrative, but a living invitation for each of us to awaken in our own lives. The Buddha's life demonstrates that profound transformation begins not with external circumstances, but with a deliberate choice to observe, understand, and master the mind. In today's world, where distractions, pressures, and countless responsibilities dominate, this invitation becomes even more urgent. The path of mindfulness is open to anyone willing to take the first step, regardless of age, culture, or social status. Stepping onto this path begins with small, conscious actions. It can be as simple as dedicating a few minutes each day to mindful breathing, observing thoughts and emotions without judgment, or pausing before reacting to stress or conflict. These moments cultivate awareness, allowing us to recognize impermanence and interconnectedness in all experiences, respond with clarity rather than impulsively, and nurture compassion for ourselves and others. Modern research in neuroscience and psychology has shown that regular mindfulness practice strengthens attention, reduces stress, and enhances emotional resilience. Each step you take on the path of mindfulness brings you closer to freedom, happiness, and inner peace. Do not wait for tomorrow. Light your own lamp today and share that light with those around you. Part 6. The Night of Enlightenment Under the Bodhi Tree. 6.1 The Resolve to Meditate Until the Truth is Found. The stillness of night settled over the valley of Uruvela, where cool breezes from the Naranjara River gently stirred the leaves. After 6 years of severe austerity and decades of fruitless searching, Siddhartha Gautama stepped toward the Bodhi tree, his bare feet pressing into the cool, firm earth. He knew this was the place where everything would be decided. Either he would find the path to liberation, or he would remain forever trapped in the endless cycle of birth and death. Within him arose an unshakable vow. Though my flesh wither and my bones decay, I will not rise from this seat. And he entered deep meditation. There was no longer any reliance on borrowed philosophies, no more self-mortification that dulled the mind. Only the breath. Only the mindful observation of every subtle movement of body and mind. Every thought that arose was seen clearly, neither resisted nor clung to, simply allowed to appear and dissolve like drifting clouds. But the path to truth was not lined with flowers. In the depths of the night, great waves of inner turbulence began to rise. Memories. Such forces were called Mara, the embodiment of all that binds beings to the wheel of samsara. Mara was not merely a mythical figure, but a metaphor for the deep psychological forces that seek to pull one away from awakening. Mara sent